Men have no friends and women bear the burden. Toxic masculinity and the persistent idea that feelings are a female thing has left a generation of straight men stranded on emotionally stunted islands, unable to forge intimate relationships with other men. It's women who are paying the price. So as men are walking away from women are trying to spin this as oh yeah, but men need us. They're going to suffer so much without us. This is just funny. Kylie Ann Kelly can't remember the exact moment she became her boyfriend's one and only. This, what would I do without you? But she does remember neglecting her own needs to the point of hospitalization. I talked him through his aspirations, validated his opinions, supported his career. I had to be his emotional guru because he was too afraid to admit he had any emotions at all. Oh my God. So he was out there doing all the hard work, earning the money. She was supporting him, and it was too hard for her. Okay. Or it caused the 24-year-old English teacher. That should tell you all you need to know. Who was studying for a PhD at the time. Kelly's boyfriend refused to talk to other men or a therapist about his feelings. Well, crazy people tend to attract each other, I guess. So he'd often get into funks, picking pointless fights when something was bothering him. Oh, so like a woman? Fretted over work and family problems after 3 years together. When exhausted anxiety landed her in the hospital, her boyfriend claimed he was too busy to visit. They broke up. Oh my God. So he probably was. Like, how much you want to bet that she did this to herself? Like, no, he just wanted to be left alone to do his work, but she kept inserting herself in there. I've seen relationships like that. Kelly's story, though extreme, is a common example of modern American relationships. Now, no, this could be true, though. Now, in fairness, just think of the type of quote-unquote man that's still on the dating market these days. When you look at the type of women you have to choose from, the so-called good men, they become passport bros. They go overseas to find a woman. The guys that are still left here in the US that are still in the dating market, well, they're rocking the Jack Murphy beard. All right, women's continue to bear the burden of men's emotional lives, and why wouldn't they? Yeah, you know what? It's not going to be a problem anymore when men just stop dating. When more men go MGTOW, this problem's going to solve itself, right? For generations, men have been taught to reject traits like gentleness and sensitivity, leaving them without the tools to deal with internalized anger and frustration. No. Men had no problems dealing with this until women inserted themselves into everything. And now, like, a man can't even show anger without being fired from his job and taken to HR and sued. So meanwhile, the female savior trope continues to be romanticized on the silver screen. Thanks, Disney. Oh, so you realize that's a problem too, huh? Making it totally normal, even ideal to find a man within the beast. This is one of those moments too where both of us, like both sides, can come to an agreement here. Yeah, the media keeps shitting on men and keeps propping up women as these like perfect angels. Yeah, the men are always like Homer Simpson types. I'm glad you noticed it too. So unlike women who are encouraged to foster deep platonic intimacy at a young age, you think so? American men with their puffed up chests, fist bumps, and awkward side hugs grow up believing that they should not only behave like stoic robots in front of other men, but that women's are the only people that are allowed to turn to for emotional support, if anyone at all. Have you seen American men in current year and compared to foreign men? This is such a lie. As modern relationships continue to put pressure on the one to be the one and only, where men cast their wives and girlfriends to play best friend, lover, career advisor, stylist, social sector, emotional cheerleader, mom to him and their future kids, or both, and eventually on-call therapist minus the $2 an hour fee. Oh, here we go again. Like unpaid labor, huh? Yeah, this is really funny because when hearing men talk, they basically view it as raising another adult child. Say, well, I go out and work. She just goes on Facebook all day and complains about me. I have to come home and raise the kid because she demands I do my share after I bring in all the money. Like, it's literally like having two kids. So this form of emotional gold digging is not only detrimental to men; it's exhausting an entire generation of women. You mean the same generation that after a single shift at McDonald's they're already in tears? Like that generation of women getting exhausted? I wonder what could have caused that level of exhaustion. It could have literally been anything. The idea that an emotional gold digger was first touched on in current year minus 7 by writer Aaron Rodgers in a with a twat that continues to be reposted on social media by both whammons who married self-described feminazi men. Well, that's what you get for marrying feminists, and by those with more conservative husbands. This has gained more traction recently as whammons feeling increasingly burdened by unpaid emotional. Oh, yep. So it's not enough. Now it's not just unpaid labor. Now it's unpaid emotional labor. Like, man, how many more times do we have to explain this? If you don't pay the bills, shut up. If he, I mean, it's different if you both work and you bring in an equal amount of money, or if the woman brings in more money than the man, which is true in a lot of cases too. But if you don't even work, if you're like a stay at home mom, you have a place to live. You got heat, you got food, you got electricity, you got water. You got all that provided for you and you don't have to pay for it. And you're complaining about unpaid labor? Shut the fuck up. So I've wised up to the toll of toxic masculinity, which keeps men isolated and capable of leaning on each other. Wait. Let me think about this too. Chat, how many men have you known that as soon as they got into a relationship, their wife slash girlfriend sabotaged all their friendships? Isn't it weird? So the same women that prevent you from hanging out with male friends then complain, why is he taking all his problems to me and not his male friends? Oh wait, I know what it is. Oh, no, you need to make friends with like my girlfriend's husbands that you have nothing in common with. I just don't want you hanging out with your friends. I don't like them. Uh-huh. Across the spectrum, women seem to complain about the same thing. Everything. While they read countless self-help books, listen to podcasts, seek out career advisors, turn to female friends for advice and support, to spend half or a small fortune on therapists to deal with old wounds and current problems, the men in their lives simply rely on them. Well, I can see this, though. Like, I'm not even going to get mad at that statement. The type of so-called men that are still in the dating market in America right now are probably the emotionally weak types that would fall into this category. I can see that. It's for this reason that artiste Lindsay Johnson, Jokey Causes of everyone's beck and call girl, not only does she take care of her husband and children, she just moved in with her mom to take care of her as well, because she knows her brothers won't. Both recently divorced. Her brothers are already turning to her, but never to each other to provide support their wives used to. A guy who's been single his whole life doesn't have this problem. Like once again, I'll actually bring up the story of one of my old coworkers that he grew up with a single mother and like 6 sisters. I mean, I don't know if it was a lot of sisters, and he was the only boy in the household. And of course, mom was a raging feminist, and so her grand master plan to teach her little boy how to respect whammons. She basically, as soon as he was old enough to do things himself, she didn't do anything for him anymore. Like she made sure he knew how to take care of himself. He was doing the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, like everything. And her plan was, I'm going to make him do all this unpaid labor that women have to do. So when he gets married, he's going to treat a woman right. You know what the end result was? He realized he doesn't need a woman, and he was in his late 40s and still single. And then his mom was still mad at him too. Like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? It's like, why would I get married? I could do everything myself. You made sure of it. I can cook, clean, do my own laundry, like all the things that I would want a woman in my life to do. I could just do it myself. Why would I need to invite a woman into my life just to double my bills and get no benefit out of it. So yeah, why would I want an extra burden in my life? Yeah, that was hilarious. That's probably one of the funniest IRL backfire moments that I've ever seen. That's right. They taught you everything you need to do. Yup. And then he had the same mindset I do. It's like none of this stuff that you complain about is hard. I could work 60 hours a week at my day job, come home and take care of the house, and all the housework that women complain about doing, still have time to play video games and hang out with my friends. Why would I ruin this? I got a good thing going. So men drain the emotional life out of women. That's projection right there. Says the 41-year-old who lives in Nashville, Tennessee. I love them, but good Lord, they become the bane of my existence. So Johnson admits she enables her brothers by saying yes all the time, partly out of guilt, also probably because she loves being needed to feel important. So basically, you did this to yourself. You want to feel needed, so you keep saying yes to everything. Then you complain about it. Yeah, men are the problem, though. It's a catch-22. Eventually, it becomes too much. I end up exhausted and resentful. Like Johnson, most of the whammons I spoke to for this piece believe that their ego and self-worth are often wrapped up in being a man's crutch, because they probably are. You should probably fix that before complaining. But the older whammons get, the less willing they seem to be a man's everything, and the less men go to him, actually. Not only because the whammons become more confident, wise, and well tired with age, but because our responsibilities pile up each passing year. All the retired whammons I know are busier than ever, taking care of spouses, ailing friends, grandchildren, and parents, and doing some volunteering on the side. Well, you could, if you really want to free up some time, you could remove one of those things from your life, You shouldn't be volunteering if you don't have your own house in order. So meanwhile, things only get worse for whammons' aging partners. Yet for some reason, single men can be fine. So men don't usually put in the effort into maintaining friendships once they're married. Well, yeah, because their wives sabotage them. Look, so their wives got rid of all of their existing friends. All of their new friends are people they don't actually like. It's just people their wives want them hanging out with. And then they wonder why isn't he putting any effort into this? Well, because you got rid of all the people he wanted to put effort into. So that guys at work are the only people other than me that my husband even talks to. So when some of these men retire, they expect their wives to be the source of entertainment and get jealous when they have a life. Johnson jokes around that women her mom's age seem to be waiting for their husbands to die so they can finally start their life. And meanwhile, their husbands are like, they spent the past 50 years realizing they made a mistake. So I'll get a call saying so-and-so kicked the bucket. And sure enough, his widow was on a cruise around the world a week later with her girlfriends. Such good people, aren't they? These are the kind, empathetic, sympathetic women that, like, literally a week after their lifelong husband dies, they're out partying in the Caribbean. Yeah, guys, don't you want to commit your life to one of these women? They're really making a strong case, aren't they? But unlike whammons in our mother's generation, Gen Xers and millennials all starting to hold their parents accountable, or partners accountable, or they're simply leaving. I'm not happy. Yeah, this is why we have an uptick of those articles that I cover on my channel. About how, I think at least twice I covered an article about women who admitted, oh, I had the perfect marriage and I threw it away. And at least one of them, it was great because this woman was extra bitter because her ex-husband was able to remarry and was actually happy, and she was miserable. And it made her even more miserable seeing how much happier he is with his new wife than he was with her. I love hearing those stories, man, so much. Ruby Mara's a comedian in her early 30s living in Los Angeles. Oh, so not funny. Got so fed up with functioning as an unpaid therapist, she gave her then boyfriend of 5 years an ultimatum: get a shrink or we're done. He had no excuse not to go since his job paid for it. But here I was, struggling freelancer with no benefits and probably not making any money anyway. always finding a way to prioritize therapy and yoga. He refused for 2 years, then finally agreed after multiple arguments, though it took prodding and reminding from her. He rarely went, said Mara is often blaming the therapist for scheduling conflicts and only conceded to couples counseling after she did all the work to find the therapist and set up the appointments. A little wiser, Mares broke up with her most recent romantic prospect after he said he didn't need therapy because he had her for that. She's going to be one of those women writing those articles I was just talking about. That I had it all and I threw it away. Men are taught that feelings are a female thing. No man legitimately believes that feelings are a female thing. The only difference between men and women in this regard is that it's a lot less acceptable for a man to be controlled by his feelings than it is for a woman. Everybody knows that men have feelings, but you have to be in control of them or else you're a bitch. It fits, doesn't it? It's about self-control. So when women talk about feelings in this way, they're basically admitting they lack self-control and they're basically overgrown children. And they're saying this as if it's a good thing. It's a good thing that I have no control over my emotions and I have outbursts all the time. Though Johnson brags about how wonderful her husband is, grateful he doesn't exhaust her with his neediness like a lot of her married friends, she does wish men were encouraged to examine and explore their emotions in a safe setting, like therapy, before they boil over. I'm tired of having to replace another broken bedside table because he didn't realize he needed to talk about his feelings, she admits. Johnson's not alone. The persistent idea of seeking therapy is a form of weakness that has, or the idea that seeking therapy is a form of weakness produces generation of men suffering symptoms like anger, irritability, and aggressiveness, because it's not only are they less likely than whammons to pursue mental health help, but once they do, they have a hard time expressing their emotions. This is so common, there's even a technical term for it: normative male alexithymia. Okay. For millennial men in particular, a major challenge is understanding they need help in the first place. Men have never been taught how to identify what their emotional needs are, their thoughts and feelings, and to express how someone can help them fulfill these. I mean, that part is kind of true. In general, like nobody cares about men's look. Even these women, nobody cares about men's feelings until they want something out of them. So like now all these women are like, oh, these men need to learn to control their feelings now that they're becoming a problem for me. But a few years ago, it was probably, shut the fuck up, you toxic male. What do you know? Yeah, they did. Nobody cares about a man's feelings until they need that man for something. Then suddenly they pretend to care. Forced to question long-held masculine ideals. Therapy can be a meaningful and transformative process, even for most reluctant patients. Oh, right. Question long-held masculine ideals. Let's confuse them even more. How about let's just convince them they're trans while we're at it? So no one has ever asked them what masculinity means to them, and they've never asked themselves, said Beard. They can get a lot of insight from the process. Well, you want to know why? Because up until a few years ago, there was no need to even ask this question. But now that men are women and women are men, and there's women with XY chromosomes and penises, now you have to ask the question, don't you? Like, what really is a man? What really is masculinity? You guys are the ones causing the confusion. But individual therapy can cost upwards of $200 per session, is rarely covered by insurance. It isn't financially viable for everyone. Group therapy is accessible alternative, ranging from $50 to $75 per session, but practice faces added stigma because its association with inpatient psychiatric hospitals and rehab facilities, as well as court-ordered treatments. When newer men join the group, she explains tenured members often normalize therapy for them, explaining that's a safe place to discuss deeply personal feelings. These military men, some with combat trauma, experience great relief in having their needs validated by peers. Members become comfortable enough to share their honest impression of another member, opening the door to personal feedback. I'll admit that's important. Still, statistics are bleak. Only 5% of men seek outpatient mental health services, despite feeling lonelier than ever before. You think so? Look, now actually, I love this jump. So they said, oh, they feel lonelier than before. And then they say in a recent British study, 2.5 million men admitted to having no close friends. That's not the same thing as feeling lonely. You realize introverts exist, right? I'm not saying introverts don't have close friends. I'm just saying that not everyone needs to be surrounded by people. Like, hermits exist, you know. People that want to be alone exist. There are people out there that view other people as a nuisance. So are you saying that they should go to therapy and be corrected because they have desires that you don't understand? So what's more, men conceal pain and illness at much higher rates than women and are 3 times more likely than women to die from self-Minecrafting. And yet, whenever that comes up, the Canadian healthcare statistics, the only thing they talk about is why is there the percentage of women who do it went up to 26 from 25%. We have to do something about this. And the whole conceal pain and illness, like that's just a natural selection thing. You know, if guys, since we're the ones that are usually doing the protecting and providing, if you show any weakness, that's like inviting someone to attack you. So I mean, I'll admit in modern society, you know, guys do got to learn when they actually should ask for help, but there's a reason that this instinct exists. So black men face an added set of barriers, including systemic discrimination, racial stereotypes, and cultural stigma against mental illness. So what then is a man to do when he needs honest, unbiased support from someone other than his partner, but is only or unable to try therapy? Some American men have found a powerful solution: men's support groups. I am not opposed to men's support groups, but remember what happened to that guy in Canada who tried to, set up a men's shelter for abused men? Yeah, if these support groups actually got the help they needed, you know what? That could be. Some guys need it. I'm not going to knock them for that. After several failed relationships, Scott Shepard realized that despite being empathetic, self-aware guy, he was still missing key elements of emotional health. A few good woke-ish men. And here's where it all falls apart. There was not enough soy-filled bitches in my friend group, so I had to go find some more. Previously, Shepard leaned heavily on women for emotional intimacy because, shocker, that's who he felt safest with. A real man right there. Problem was, he became dependent on women's he opened up to and kept repeating the cycle. I saw it was really me. That's the problem. Oh, dude, he just got completely whipped, man. They convinced him he is the problem, but they probably convinced him to accept the blame for a lot more things. Oh my God, holy shit, I just read ahead. It didn't matter who the girl was. The same issues kept coming up amidst the Portland, Oregon. Of course he's from Portland. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Why is it that it's always these soy boys that have these problems? Real men don't seem to have this issue. An outdoor adventure leader. So basically a glorified hiker. These old patterns are pretty deep. I need support and intimacy that wasn't tied up in one relationship. So Shepard turned to the internet, downloaded a men's group manual, invited a few guy friends who he knew would be receptive. And then they had a girls' night out. He capped the membership at 8 and set a structure, very clear boundaries. The most important thing is what's talked about in men's group stays in men's group. Every last one of them is talking about that stuff to their girlfriends. I can guarantee you that. So each meeting starts with a 5-minute meditation. We don't need to read that whole thing. All right. Seven learned some things. There's some things you process with a partner, but other things are much healthier to process outside the relationship. I mean, this is a true statement. I can't find fault there. Instead of running away or making extreme statements like, I'm afraid this isn't working, he's learned it's best to first talk with healthy, honest soy boys to get clarity and then come back and say, here's what I'm struggling with. So he has to run it by his soy boy group first before he talks about it with his girlfriend. I'm not against men's support groups, but I really don't think this is what men need. At least not how these groups are. Oh, we need to do this. Shame. Brené Brown found in her years of research is the single biggest cause of toxic masculinity. Since the dawn of my channel, almost 10 years ago now. I've been laughing about how once you stop caring what other people think about you, that's when you'll be free. Because shame is the only weapon most other people have. If they can't shame you into doing something, they have no power over you. If shame doesn't work on you, that's it. They have nothing else. Both the right and the left, all they know how to do is shame. And when shame doesn't work, they shame harder. And when that doesn't work, they just keep doing it, wondering why it's not working. Now, whereas women experience shame when they fail to meet unrealistic, conflicting expectations, men become consumed with shame for showing signs of weakness. No, just in general, let's actually standardize this for both men and women. If you care too much what irrelevant people think about you, that's the problem. Since vulnerability is unfortunately still perceived as a weakness instead of a strength. It is a weakness, you moron. That's why it's called a vulnerability. It's basically a synonym, dumbass. In what way is a vulnerability a strength? Though having hard conversations that involve vulnerability is something men often try to avoid. Now, actually, wait, why would this be? How many guys have any of you listening known that they basically bared all to their girlfriend or their wife, and then after the breakup, everybody knew all of their dirty little secrets? Maybe there's a reason they avoid these conversations. Like, if I share all my most intimate secrets with this person, is she going to be nice enough to keep this to herself after the breakup? And then they wonder why guys don't tell them. No, it's for this reason that to yield positive results from men's support groups, men must enter such groups with very intention, not just to find buddies. Now, see, this is where it gets different. If you're confiding with a male friend, and I will say, I have seen this happen among male friends too, unfortunately. But usually it's when there was a woman involved. But for the most part, men generally keep this to themselves. If you tell a male friend one of your deepest, darkest weaknesses and secrets, even if you're not friends anymore, they're not going to go blabbing about it to like your entire family and friend group. Now, if you're both fighting over the same woman, on the other hand, that seems to turn men into bitches. Yeah, they forget, they forget what loyalty is when you add a woman into the equation. Yeah, they'll do anything to cripple you in the eyes of that woman so the woman picks them instead of you. All right, so now we're talking about men's support groups again. Okay. Text chain. Similarly, now that Shepard, the hiker, no longer needs a partner to feel emotionally connected and understood, he says he can go to his next relationship without being emotionally needy or selfish. Now, if only women did this too. It's not healthy to have all your chips in one container with anyone. That's a true statement. After watching TED Talks, oh man, if this is where you get your info from, huh? Like Tony Porter's A Call to Men and Justin Baldoni's, not Baldo's, Justin Baldo's Why I'm Done Trying to Be Man Enough. And oh man, I do laugh at soy boys quite often, but I do, once again, we can come to an agreement. I share the sentiment that once you stop caring about what other people think, whether they think you're a real man or whatnot, that's when you're truly free. That's when you can be happy. Now, Shepard has realized how important it is for men to start redefining what it means to be a good man to the woman in their lives. It depends on the women's. I mean, let me just say this again. I've seen a lot of women out there who complain that, that they basically want a traditional man and they complain they can't get one, yet they themselves are not traditional women. So cry more. If you're not a traditional woman, you don't deserve a traditional man. Now, he believes men are having a reckoning soy boys are having a reckoning right now, not just with their past wrongs individually and collectively, as we've seen with Pound Me Too and Time's Up. Yeah. Only soy boys care about this obvious scam. But with who they are and wants to be. Guys, we are witnessing natural selection in action right here. This is natural selection. It's doing its job. All culture pits men against whammons. No, you mean it pits whammons against men. Men didn't used to compete against women until women forced themselves into everything and tried to become men. Now that is actually one of the major things that has destroyed the male female relationship dynamic. Men and women used to support and complement each other. Now now they're competing with each other. No wonder relationships don't work. That makes it impossible for men to feel anything but shame if they act too feminine in front of other men. What a soy boy thing to say. But some men are recognizing that internally they aren't nearly as strong as they think they are. I mean, which by the way, that's a valuable lesson too. You don't want to overestimate your strength. You could end up hurt, but it's not the way these guys meant it, I'm sure. But that's enough of this. Only so much soy I can take.